This video is about looking at re-engineering processes, or put another way, looking and tightening your processes so that you get the same value output for your customers, your residents, your stakeholders, but with the minimum amount of effort. And that might need a bit of re-engineering to make sure you're being more effective and efficient in your processes. So a little bit of chat about re-engineering that, how you might do that. And it starts really by looking at mapping the process as it is, the current state, if you like. And the way I like to do this, you can do it with flowcharts and various other things, but the way I like to do it is using what we call swim lanes. So you'll see, and I didn't have a graphic for this, so I had to draw this out manually. But this is actually comes from my old world from many years ago when I used to be an accountant, the annual accounts production process for a client. But it doesn't really matter what it is. What we do is we chronologically list the steps from start to finish. And then we have the swim lanes, who are the various people or departments through which this process travels, with a dot for every time this department touches it, all the way through from start to finish. And in this case, we had the people are client, admin, junior, manager, partner. And so all we do is we literally tie a piece of string to the job, really, and we stand by and watch it as it goes from start to finish, and we literally map all the steps. Okay. And what's really interesting when you do it is you learn a lot of things, obviously, just visually. This is the process you run every day, but suddenly you're seeing it on paper for the first time and you start to see it for how it really is, warts and all. So we map it as it is, not how we think it is, but how actually it is, as we take a job through the system. And then what we could do is we could, and by the way, this one on the right-hand side is the same one, but we've added a column or two where we've added, well, are we adding value in this step or not? Because we need to know, is this a value-added step? Is adding value to the customer or not? And a lot of the steps, as you can see here, are non-value added. And in fact, only 9 of the 27 steps, I've starred them here, are actually adding value to the process. The rest of them are kind of quality control. They are checking steps that actually aren't adding any value to the customer. So we call that kind of value stream mapping. All that means is we map the value stream all the way through, and we see where we're adding value, where we're not. Because in lean manufacturing, they try to eliminate non-value added steps because they're waste. They're adding cost, but they're not adding value to the customer. So what will you learn by doing that? So if you have a process that you're trying to say, well, I'm spending a lot of money on this process, I wonder if I can re-engineer it in some way so that I get the same outcomes for my stakeholders, but for a lower cost, a lower input of time or effort, or cost, at the end of the day. So what will you learn by mapping this? Well, what you'll learn is, first of all, well, actually just going back, the interesting thing is the file was given to the manager for review at step 8 here. In other words, the job should be complete at that point. If the junior had done the job exactly as it should have been, then that job should be right. If it's right first time, nothing else needs to happen. But you'll notice a lot happens after step 8. And in fact, that's where the more expensive people get involved. That's where cost gets added a lot. It's like a snowball. It gets bigger and bigger and bigger right through to the end. But it should have been actually pretty close to right at step 8, but it never is, in truth. So that's the first thing you'll learn is where are you adding cost, and could you get it right first time a little bit earlier? You'll learn where the non-value added steps are. You'll learn dependencies. So for example, just going back, notice the junior. Look at how dependent the process is on the junior. Look at how many dots there are in the junior column. Now, the problem with juniors in accounting is that they're not there very often because they're on lots of jobs. And by the time you need them to be back to do some rework on this job, they're off on another job, or they're on study leave, or they're on holiday, or whatever. So those dependencies, if you're not careful, will cause bottlenecks and slowdowns and stoppages, because they need to be there to finish the job off, but they're not. So you'll notice dependencies, you'll notice bottlenecks, you'll notice rework. Notice, look, there's these tennis matches go on here where the job bounces back between different agencies or departments, which is just rework, really. That's all that is. So you'll notice where that happens. You'll notice where lots of people, for example, have got to be together at the same time. before you can move on. That can be tricky, and so on. You'll learn where the job can stop, where it's not in flow. Tennis matches, as I said. Also, you'll maybe notice where you can delegate to reduce cost. So going back, for example, the manager and partner are quite expensive animals. So question, does the manager and partner, do they need to do all these things? Could we actually delegate those to the junior or to the admin person to get them done by a cheaper person or a cheaper machine? So it will show opportunities to do that. And also in this case, the interesting thing is actually every manager step is non-value added in my example, because quality control by definition is non-value added. So can we eliminate some of those steps? And you'll learn heaps more as well. So that's process mapping. Map the current state, notice all those things, do the value stream mapping, and then try and maybe map a future state, which makes that process a lot more effective and a lot more efficient to take out a lot of the wasted steps or a lot of the wasted effort. And so I'm going to do another video actually on critical path analysis, which another bit of jargon on process mapping, but nonetheless quite important. So I'll do a separate video on that. But good luck with your process mapping. I hope you find it eye-opening and enlightening.